Mission Transformers 96 here at the end of the review. This time we have the Star Wars The Elite Series Poe Dameron figure. Obviously they've had an Elite Series figure come out every 2 weeks since like early September, I believe, starting with Darth Maul, and each week a new figure comes out with that represents one of the 7 Star Wars movies. The last figure that was going to come out the day The Force Awakens was released, and the character was hidden. It was, they didn't show the character whatsoever, and then finally when they released it was shown that the new Force Awakens figure was Poe Dameron, which is exciting. And they did also release 2 more figures, but both of them were just revised versions of older figures. I did purchase both of them too, and I did buy 2 Poe Damerons. With the Elite Series, it's the only series that I do this with, but I do buy a loose and a mint figure because the packaging looks so nice, and I do like them out of package. So I was excited to see the Poe Dameron was the figure from this, the secret figure, basically. He was one that I thought it could have been. I was thinking R2-D2 and C-3PO would probably be the figure, maybe Han or maybe Poe Dameron, and of course it did turn out to be Poe Dameron. The figure in general is decent. I do think it is on the weaker end of the Elite Series. I think that there's a lot of figures that are quite better than this one. It does have its flaws, but overall it does what it needs to do and looks pretty decent. In package, as you can see, looks quite good. He comes not wearing the helmet. You can see the gun there and everything. And I do just like the Elite Series packaging in general. I think it's really nice. It's quite simple, yet there's a lot of open space on it to completely see the figure, and I do like the colors it uses. Okay, let's get into the figure. Alright, so first of all, let's start off with this head sculpt. So the head sculpts on the Elite Series figures can be quite good, I think, in a lot of ways, especially with Rey. I think that Rey has a really good face sculpt. The paint on the hair to represent the hairline doesn't look good, but the actual face sculpt itself, I think, is actually a bit stronger than the Black Series one in general. The Darth Maul was pretty decent. I'm trying to think. Finn was okay, pretty good. Adam Driver, Kylo Ren head sculpt is decent. This one I do find is on the worst head sculpt that they've done for an Elite Series figure. I don't think it represents the character too well. Obviously, I mean, they've sculpted the hair nicely, and I could see what they're going for, of course, but it does come off quite strange. His eyes are just too low. His eyes needs to be higher, so that they're not so close to his nose and that they don't leave a massive forehead. So I would have liked to see the eyes be raised higher, as well as his kind of like 5 o'clock shadow that they were going for really turned out very sloppy. They obviously just smeared a little bit of gray paint on it to kind of give it that unshaven type of look, but it really is so sloppily done that it just looks terrible. There's even some on his earlobe there, and just looks absolutely awful. Then there's like some of it missing on this side, just absolutely terrible. I will say that I did open the one that looked the worst. The one in package here actually does look better. It still has its flaws, but I mean the paint on the 5 o'clock shadow there does actually look a lot more even, and it looks just a lot better in general. So that goes to show you, if you see them in stores, absolutely go through a couple of Poe Damerons to find the one with the best shading on the chin area. That's definitely what you're going to want to look out for. Going over the actual costume, it's designed pretty nicely. As you can see, it is of course an X-Wing outfit, and it does look quite good. They've sculpted the wrinkles in really nicely, especially on the sleeves there, and then on the lower pants, they're sculpted quite well too. And it just has a good look in general. I do like the vest, and you do have some nice symbols there, as well as the rebel, or resistance in this case, symbol. And you do have his kind of, I guess this is like an oxygen tank, and then the cord that goes down into his pocket. And he does have these straps hanging down from here. Obviously, you do have a lot of screw holes. The screws I don't really mind too much. I think a lot of figures have capes that hide this. Obviously this figure does not, so they are all front and center. But it's not a big deal for me. I don't know. I don't look at my figures from the back, so it really doesn't matter too much. The paint, I'm not a big fan of. I feel like they went with just a bright orange without any sort of wash into it, which gives it a toyish look. I wish that they did go with probably a darker orange or lighter orange, and actually sculpted it or painted in some shading to make it look realistic instead of just so bland. which is a shame. They did actually have some nice paint in the vest here, though. The vest is white, but it does have some yellow actually washed into it, which gives it that realistic and nice look to it. One thing that I hate about this figure is this open hand. I don't know what they were going for here. It's completely open, and he's got kind of like a fat hand here too, so he just looks incredibly awkward. I really wish that they went with a relaxed palm and not, you know, like a high five type of hand. Just looks really strange. Obviously, having him hold the his helmet does look the best with that hand, but it is still really strange looking. I mean, he doesn't even hold it that naturally, you know, his hand is open so wide, so it would have been really nice if they did actually sculpt a better hand. Just anything would have been better, like a fist or a relaxed palm, whatever they could have done to make that better. The other hand looks fine because it is meant to hold the weapon, and the weapon looks pretty good. As you can see, it is gold with black highlights, which is really strange. I know the Elite Series 1 did a silver gun, so I'm not quite sure where the gold comes from. He didn't use this in the movie, so I'm not sure which one is accurate, but it does look good. And he does have a holster for it as well. He does come with his helmet, of course. The helmet looks quite nice. I like the sculpt on it a lot, and they do have some really good detail in there. The only thing I don't like is the visor, or the what do you call that? It's kind of the eyeglass there. It's just done in a completely bright yellow. I wish it was translucent. Any other figure that's done a Poe Dameron that comes with that helmet has a translucent visor but this one does not. You can get it kind of over his eyes, but it just looks really awkward, and you have to raise it up quite far in the back of his head, so I just like to put it on where you can see his eyes there, so it's like he's getting ready to get in the X-Wing cockpit, but he hasn't fully put on the helmet yet. I think that look just looks the best. But you know, fits over his head quite nicely, and obviously having the helmet on does detract from that pretty bad head sculpt, so I do like that also. Of course, the best thing about this line is it is die-cast, so he is quite a hefty and heavy figure, which is wonderful. Articulation is pretty decent. Obviously not Black Series, but it's still a good amount of articulation. He's got a ball-jointed head, ball-hinged shoulders with hinge elbows, a swivel wrist. He has a swivel waist, which seems like it kind of gets locked in the middle, and then you kind of have to click it to the other side to get it to move. It moves very nicely, and doesn't really get hindered too much by this hose. This is about as far as you can move it right, but obviously you can move it left extremely far. Ball jointed thighs, this strap doesn't get in the way whatsoever. He has a hinge knee and then hinge swivel ankles. So in general, articulation is quite good. You know, obviously not anything for dynamic poses, but you will still be able to get him in good stances and just poses in general still. Comparing him with the Black Series Poe Dameron, as you can see, I mean, comparing the two, obviously the Black Series is always going to be the better design for most cases. I mean, sometimes the Elite Series are actually better than the Black Series design-wise, but in this case, the Black Series looks much better, looks much more accurate, although both of these head sculpts are awful. I mean, I don't think either of them got them right. The Resistance Poe Dameron that the Black Series did had a nice face sculpt, but this Elite Series and this X-Wing Black Series Poe Dameron just have terrible head sculpts. They look awful. But obviously the drawing factor to the Elite Series is the fact that it has die cast, which of course the Black Series one does not, and it's just plastic. And obviously the Elite Series is much bigger, and it's only $5 more, even though it uses such a better material, which is really quite special. So in general, a really nice Poe Dameron figure. I mean, you know, not the best from the Elite Series. If you're looking to get an Elite Series figure, I would highly recommend going with somebody else other than this Poe Dameron. This would be mainly for the completists or anybody who's just a huge Poe Dameron fan. If you just want a die-cast Poe Dameron, this is a good one for you. Like I said, I would recommend buying this one online or in stores rather than online to try to, you know, get a good face sculpt that has some pretty decent paint on the beard there. I did just buy this from their website, you know, at like 3 in the morning. The moment it was released, and so I didn't obviously get to pick mine in person, but I did get 2 of them, so when I got them, I have one with some good paint and then one with a little bit of lacking paint. But overall, a pretty nice figure, definitely not the best, but a pretty decent extra figure in the Elite Series collection. So there you go, that's my video review of the Star Wars The Elite Series Poe Dameron figure. Thanks so much for watching.